Welcome to Daps Magic, Disney and Positive Stuff. I'm Mr. Daps, and it is time to return to the fives. And as always, I've got my good friend Mikey, really Likey, over from Florida on with us. And today we're inviting Angela because the topic is just that good. And before we get into all of that, please subscribe wherever you happen to be watching or listening to this, and give us a rating, maybe even a 5-star rating. We'd love that. And if you know anybody else that would love to geek out about this Disney and positive stuff that we are about to get into, share this with them. It'll be a lot more fun when we share it with more people. But I think it's time to get into this, and we're going to have a blast. Should we tell them what we're going to do today, guys?
I think we should.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have been nostalgic lately and thinking about things from days gone by. And so today for the fives, we each have picked 5 things that we wish we could do or could have done, I suppose, because they're gone. So these could be extinct attractions. These could be shows that we never got to see. These could be really anything that we feel drawn to wishing we could have experienced. But you don't want to hear me talk about what we are going to do. You want to hear what we actually have picked. So I think we will go with ladies first. And Angela, what is the first thing on your 5?
Gotcha. Well, moment, please, if you will. I came into this kind of with my imagination going wild a little bit. I have been thinking over the last couple of days of, boy, what would I want to have experienced in the past? Because there's so many good choices. And so I have to say up front, Disneyland is my home park. And so walking through those legacy pathways, you just have to feel that history, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I also wanted to mention, I was listening to that Disney Legacy Collection album recently, the Disneyland one. And up popped up the Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, the full spiel of that. And I feel like that was inspiring because although we're not talking about tomorrow, we're talking about yesterday, and in fact, extinct yesterday.
Love it.
I feel like it's still meaningful, that theme, because a lot of the things on my list were looking towards an optimistic tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And that spirit makes something really classic. I think it's something that we still look back on today as maybe like a prototype of what we have today, or just something that was so good that we still don't forget about it. So that's where I'm coming from. My first one, and I feel like I'm gonna steal one from other people, so apologies.
We'll see.
The People Mover at Disneyland, to be specific, because of course Walt Disney World still exists, and I have been so privileged to get to experience that attraction. It is definitely one of my favorite in the Magic Kingdom. But I think there is something special about that original Disneyland version. And, looking back when you go through Tomorrowland today, to still see some of that skeleton standing, I will never get to experience that today. It's a little bit sad. I do have to say, I guess, as a caveat, that I might have experienced this attraction as a very, very small child, maybe in the 80s. But I don't remember it, unfortunately. So to me, it is one of those extinct attractions that I have nostalgia for, even though I don't remember it. It's one of those that I've watched home movies of.
I was just about to ask, have you seen videos of it at least?
I have. And those home movies, I think several of them I've seen are colorized too. Mm-hmm. And that makes it extra special. Just that experience of riding above everything, being able to see things in Tomorrowland from a new perspective is just something that we don't get to do today. Going through some of those original attractions, seeing the Mary Blair mural, I feel like that in itself is something I would just love.
That could be a whole conversation right there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Adventure through Inner Space, the original Carousel of Progress when it was here, seeing other things like the Skyway, all of that color that's around. I feel like that makes it one of those amazing things that would have been just so classic to see. And of course we have to go back to, maybe we overuse this phrase, but I think it's a powerful one, that kinetic energy that we don't have in that Tomorrowland section anymore. It brought such a color, especially those original, colorful trains that it had. I looked at pictures recently and just thought, oh, that was so beautiful. I would have loved to experience that. So for me, I suppose that's number one.
I totally agree with you. And what I love about that is it carried on your theme of what you led with, the optimism for the future, the hope for a better tomorrow. And I think that is what made the People Mover so special. It was so out of the like, you don't see a People Mover anywhere. Like, you're not walking through LA or Portland or Orlando. I guess there's kind of one in Orlando, but
kind of
not technically. It's like a train. But
yeah, well,
but like, you don't see these things everywhere, and so it does give you that fresh perspective, and I think it almost spurs on the imagination and the inspiration just by throwing you into that different perspective and that different speed and the movement. Like, it really does get you thinking and get you wondering and get you dreaming. And I think that's a great one. I don't know. Well, I had been on it and I do remember it, so that's why I didn't put it on my list. But I think it should be on the list either way, because I do think it's one of the great, I don't know if it's a miss, but it's like one of the great losses of Tomorrowland is not having the People Mover up there. And it's always so awesome seeing it in Florida when we go. Like, it's one of the first things we do, unless you're Mikey and you go on it 6 million times.
I still have nightmares about that.
But it was it was worth it. And
sure, yeah, of course.
But there's something so yes, it's relaxing, but it was the possibility of what if. And I wish they had something like that in Tomorrowland at Disneyland, because as I'm looking at what they're doing in Tokyo, even, it does get you wondering the what if question about the future, as you're seeing this new version of Tomorrowland coming to life, that I think many of us kind of have always felt that Tomorrowland might be a little bit stuck, and there is no way to do Tomorrowland because today turns into tomorrow so much quicker now than it did 60 years ago, 70 years ago. And I think there could be a new People Mover in this new vibe of Tomorrowland that Tokyo, I'm going to say, is taking the lead on. And I'm like, I just hope we get some of the side benefits of that, of like, oh, well, that worked. Maybe we can do something with Tomorrowland at Disneyland. And honestly, maybe in Florida too. I don't know. Like, I kind of like Tomorrowland in Florida. I don't know about everybody else, but you never know. Like, yeah. All right, Mikey, what's on your, or do you want to add more to this? And then what's on your list?
Well, I will preface my number one by saying I agree with everything you guys just said about the attraction of the original People Mover. Having said that, the first one on my list took that legacy and flushed it down the toilet with rocket rods. Oh, goodness.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was like you started going so
we couldn't have planned
poetic
that.
with that, and like felt like, well, I'm gonna crush this. This was so hard.
So tell us why the rocket rods.
It just seemed so quirky to me. Like,
that is fair.
Yeah, and something unique like that, I think could have worked in some format, but using the old track for the People Mover, it wasn't built for that. And it's caused damage that still has not been fixed. So I don't know. I felt that was just like
it had a really cool queue, though. I remember loving the queue for rocket rods.
Really?
Because you went down and under. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I enjoy rides like that. It's quirky. It's interesting. And I never got to experience that. And so I thought that would have been a good addition to my list. Yeah.
Have you watched videos of like ride? I don't even know if they have a ride through video of that one. I feel like they have to.
Yeah, there is some older, home video footage on YouTube that you can dig up, but I've seen videos of it, and yeah, it seemed fun. I wouldn't call it a winning attraction by any means.
I remember,
but it seemed fun for what it was.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly what it was. Did you get to go on it, Angela?
I did not. I was at the park in the later 90s. and I don't recall if it was in operation at that time. But no, I do not recall. But I agree with you, Mikey. It is one I've always kind of wondered, just for the novelty of it, what would that have
Sure.
been like?
You know how I think it could have worked so much better in 2020 hindsight? Wouldn't it be great for something like an Avengers campus? Like
Yeah.
if you could get a view of around the top of Avengers campus and kind of go, I don't know, like I don't know what the theming would be, but the speedy whatever. I feel like it could kind of fit into that vibe and the motion. It would like add more to that land, constant movement or whatever. And I don't know exactly how it would work, but with the expanded Avengers campus, there's
Maybe.
more space. I don't
Well,
think they'll ever do this, but
I love the kind of backstory of Avengers Campus that it was originally Stark Industries and specifically Stark Motors. I could see it being kind of an assembly line, but just
there you go.
elevated being a
There you
new
go.
concept. I like that.
Yeah, that could work.
I will admit I did get on it a couple of times, and I don't have a lot of memories of it because I was fairly young, but I do remember thinking it was a very long wait for a very short ride. And I think I also remember thinking that it was a unique approach to the space. Like it was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. But I also don't remember going as fast as I expected it to. And I don't know, like it was an interesting, it's one of those things I wish I could go back and re-experience just to be like, is my memory close on this or was I completely out to lunch on, because I don't know. But
and with the technology of today to be able to record it in 4K and all.
Yeah. Well, and I think for both this and for People Mover, like imagine getting to go over the submarine lagoon today in the where they're going up and down and in those nice arches over Tomorrowland. I'm like, it'd be so cool. Like, I don't know. I still hope we get a miracle someday and Josh tomorrow steps on the stage at a D23 and it's like, guess what, guys? We're giving you the People Mover back. And that would buy him like 10 years of goodwill, I think.
Absolutely. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I kind of, but also not. But I can wish. All right. My first one on the list is, which one do I want to go with first? I'm going to go with Journey into Imagination's the original version, because I never got to experience that. And I've seen videos, and I have a very strong affinity for Figment, for one. And if you look up, or you can't see it, but right up over my shoulder, there's a picture of me with Figment on the top of Spaceship Earth that was painted for me. And I'm like a little Calvin and Hobbes character. But I love the message of inspiration and imagination that comes with Figment and Dreamfinder together. Like there's something so magical about the two of them. And I think it's something that we forget is important so often. We're not encouraged to be imaginative. We're not encouraged to step out of the norm as much. And you look at how things go so often, it's like, oh no, you need to be in this little box and you have to be like everybody else and believe what everybody else believes. And I do think there's something lost when we don't have the out of the box ideas. Like some of the best things that we've done at Daps Magic through the last 22 years. Is that what it was, Angela?
21, 22? It's in there.
2004. So yeah.
Yep.
But some of the best things that we've done through the years have been the random, like, hey, Mikey, you want to go do the People Mover a million times, or like whatever, the 24-hour day video that was insane. Like some of the craziest idea have become the most memorable. And will we always do them again? Absolutely not. But but they've made a memory, they've made a moment, and like who's gonna forget somebody lightsaber dueling in the middle of Main Street, USA during a 36-hour live stream of 24-hour day? Like those are just those moments that we wouldn't have otherwise. And they come from the ideas. And I really think, going back to Journey to Imagination, that's what that was all about. It was the out of the box imagination, build it up, really lean into that, as opposed to just going, this is the path you need to take, because this is, what the school says, what the work says, what your parents say. And I do think that's lost. And I do recognize that the guy in a trilby and a bow tie is the one saying this. So it may fit pretty well. I need a Figment bow tie.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
How did we
that
never
would be
think of
wonderful.
this before?
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say, I forgot to say this during the opening, is I wore the Monsters Inc. bow tie today, knowing that it will soon be an extinct attraction.
Tear.
And people someday may be having the same conversation about Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue that we're having today about these attractions. But and the music. Also, the music is absolutely fantastic for the original Journey to Imagination. And as much as the one today is okay, that's kind of the problem, is it's not a home run. Like it captures some of what the original charm of the original, but it doesn't have that really powerful message, that moving arrangement of music that just gets you all excited to journey into imagination. So that's my first one. You guys have any thoughts on Figment and Friends?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you
Your
and I have
TV
had.
show.
Yeah, I know you and I have had many conversations about my absolute love for the original attraction. I feel like
Was this on
that
your list
was
by any chance?
no, because
Okay, good.
that one
'cause you went on it.
I've had experience. I know that
That's
ride.
right.
I loved that ride. But there was a time that was made in a time where Disney had a way of making their attractions where they were not just unique but memorable. And someone like me who grew up as a child just seeing that was an attraction that stuck with me. Growing up, it created that wonder, created that excitement. I think the only reason why kids these days remember the attraction now is because it's stuff based on their movies, and they can just go home and watch Frozen or go home and watch Coco or something like that. But you had something completely unique within the attraction, and it put itself into your mental psyche. It made something happen. And I think that's a gift that's not given much anymore in Disney attractions, I think.
It's a different approach now. Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting to see how that's evolved from we have to create something out of nothing every time, to now we have lots of things that we can pull from our toolbox. So let's see how we can connect them all or whatever, and build that kind of net of fandom, I guess you could say, that keeps connecting people to the next thing. And it is kind of an interesting thing. And I do wish, I wonder, it'd be an interesting conversation, is, don't you think Figment might be the most popular non-IP, because he's kind of become an IP of his own, in the Disney parks and beyond? Like,
Absolutely. I think even people I know that aren't, huge Disney people know who Figment is. I think he's transcended what they originally would have intended him to be. Sorry, Dreamfinder, but you got
we
lost.
could wish we had Dreamfinder. I do think there's something magical with the combination of Dreamfinder and Figment, though, because it really does. Like, the hard part with the current version is the imagination is almost viewed as a hindrance or a nuisance for 4/5 of the attraction. And I get the whole point is discovering that it isn't, but I don't necessarily like the premise. I'm like, no, this should be celebrated from day one. Like, that should be the whole thing. We don't need to go on the journey of whatever. Angela, did you ever get to experience the original Journey to Imagination? I don't know when your first Epcot trip was.
Yeah, so 2009. So no.
Okay, so you missed it too.
Yeah. And I'm gutted to not have experienced that, because I have heard the legend, and I've looked into, done a little research into what it was and why everybody was just so upset when it was changed, and I can absolutely see why, because that is one in all of Walt Disney World that's probably on the top of my list for ones I wish I could have experienced back then.
It's so good. Definitely worth checking out the videos on YouTube. All right. What's your second one, Angela?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to take a left turn here. My second one.
We're going to Frontierland? No.
We are.
Okay.
You got it. Yes, literally a left turn. We are going to the pack mules through Nature's Wonderland.
Oh, good call.
A little bit of a throwback there. So a little bit of history about me. As a teen, I used to ride horses and show horses. And so working with horses and mules and donkeys and that kind of thing, it has been something that I've grown up doing. And so when I learned that back in, the 50s and through the 70s, really, you could ride an actual mule through the park, I can't tell you how much that just inspired my imagination to think, what would that have been like to go on a real trail ride
Mm-hmm.
with this animal and just a guide and to experience this whole area of the park that actually is not here today. That is another reason for this pick for me,
Yeah.
just to see the Nature's Wonderland piece. I'm just blown away by thinking about how cool that is. To see Cascade Peak that doesn't really exist anymore. We see kind of remnants of where it used to be. Some of those animatronics and interesting gags that they put into the desert landscape. All of that was just so interesting. I've done a little bit of research too in writing the Disney This Day that we post every day on Daps Magic, that it's such an interesting story too, how that attraction came to be, that Walt also had an affinity for riding and for horses and said, you know what we need? We need this whole herd. And you know what? I'm just going to go buy all of these mules and find somebody to take care of them. There was a couple that used to live on the park property and would take care of these animals. There were about 50 to 75 at any given time, and they would swap out throughout the day. Of course, you can't have the same ones there.
I'm just thinking of 50 to 75
right?
mules in that space. Even if you go to the space backstage where they were kept,
Absolutely.
you were
Right.
smelling those. Like the neighbors were smelling those.
You would. You're right. Just to think about all the logistics that had to happen to make it work. The fact that every single ride would be just a little different because you never know what your mule is going to do. All of that would be such a difference to what we experience today. There's never been anything like it. And, I just feel like that's one I would have loved to see in person.
Nice. Was that on your list, Mikey?
It was not. Similar attraction, but not exactly that one.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and add that to my mentioning here would be the mine train through Nature's Wonderland.
And that was on your list.
That is on my list. Yes, it wasn't exactly number 2, but hey, it's on the list.
You know what? It's fine. Tell us why mine train.
I think because I had learned that that was kind of like the inspiration behind Big Thunder Mountain, and there's just something fun about just an easygoing ride. I've heard the audio. I have the Legacy Collection thing, and it has that whole attraction in there, and it's just a fun little thing. And that's just something that I wish I could have definitely seen by myself, because I love the train around the park. I love the easygoing rides, and that's my thing. And I think that would have been a great calm experience that everyone could be a part of.
And I'm curious if we're going to get more easygoing rides in the future, just because I'm noticing a trend at Disney where they're leaning back into young families again. And Cool Kids Summer in Walt Disney World and the summer Kids Summer Rule, whatever it is we're having at Disneyland. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. But there is a definite pivot to, hey, we have all these big thrill rides and that's great, but we also need to have the things that are family friendly, that are accessible, that you don't have to be 40 inches to ride. And I think attractions like these, maybe not mules today, but
right.
but like a traditional slower mine train like we still have at Knott's Berry Farm like it's something the whole family can do. And I do think there's a strength to that. And that's really goes back to the roots of what Disneyland was about in the first place, was what's something you can do with grandma, with, little Sally, whatever. and you can enjoy that all together, whether it's the train, the Mark Twain pops into my mind, Haunted Mansion, although sometimes
Hmm.
that's a little scary for some kids. But I do think, or Storybook Land's a prime example where you kind of just
Yeah.
get to float by and absorb it and experience it, and watch little babies think, oh look, there's that, like there's something magical about little houses like that or whatever. No, I totally agree with you on both of that, and yours almost made it on my list, Mikey, but then I
Okay.
had a shiny object and you know went a different direction.
Yep.
And can
That
I
tracks.
say
Yes.
something else about the whole Nature's Wonderland section that, of course, had many iterations before that, at least a couple. Um, Something that struck me during this whole process of thinking about which attractions will I pick. I had this realization. So, of course, Walt Disney always wanted to have his experimental prototype community. He wanted that to be Epcot, and it didn't quite happen the way he wanted. But it struck me, in a way, Disney parks kind of are civilizations unto themselves. We think about antiquity, where you build foundation upon foundation, and the things that came before inspire what we have today. And to me, this is one of the most clear examples where you started with, the what was it called? The mule pack and the very basic version of just you're riding through a desert landscape. That's kind of it. And then they added on more. Then they added on more. They put animatronics. They fleshed it out more. And today we have Big Thunder Mountain in that same
Mhm.
location. And I don't know if we would have ever gotten to Big Thunder Mountain without some of these other iterations that inspired Imagineers.
And even to further that, this is slightly tangential, I guess you could say, is you think of the popular movies of that era,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of country westerns that were big deals, and we really don't have those anymore. And I wonder too, let's say if a different genre of movie had been popular, like imagine how different that would have changed what ended up being Frontierland. Maybe,
Yeah.
it's I don't know what it would be, but that could totally change a lot of things, including Big Thunder, Mine Train, and Mules, and that'd be kind of a weird, maybe Disney Sea becomes a land instead of a full park or something, is off the top of my head, like they go boats or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting to think how these foundational things that were percolating in Walt's head really played out in different ways, whether it was through the movies he was making or the parks he was building that were predecessors to what he hoped would be Epcot, because he definitely did. Everything's connected one way or another, but yeah. All right, I'm gonna go Wild West for you guys too, because I did have something on my list that's remotely connected. And this is something that didn't last super long, but I would have loved to have experienced it. It was not in a park. It was the Fort Wilderness Railroad.
Ooh, oh,
Uh-huh.
that's
How
genius.
is that for a out of like, yes,
That's a
I
pull
Yeah.
think
there.
it was. But like, it's one of those things that I've always been fascinated by because it really is an attraction outside of the theme park. And I just love Fort, like that whole area I love. But
Yeah.
but I think it would have been so fun to get to experience that. And I think it would have, being there when it was still there, it would have brought Fort Wilderness to life in the story it's telling even more. Because what is more wilderness? Like, you think of all the old movies, there's always a train, like it's,
Sure. Yeah.
and I love trains, obviously. So there's that too. But that is one train that we will never get to experience again. And there's really not, like, there's some videos about it, but there's not a ton of them. And I think it's just one of those lost treasures that really, that would have been fun to experience.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
makes me wonder what other resorts had their own attractions. Was that one of the only one? I'm not very informed about all of that. That's
Hmm.
really interesting.
I'm trying to think of anything. I mean, there's the monorail that went around, but um, I guess there was boats in,
Yeah.
that
Okay,
went
yeah.
places, but they weren't
Yeah.
necessarily an outright. I don't know. I think this was the most overt version of it, maybe.
That sounds really fun.
All right. Well, Angela, you're up.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's see. I am going to go from the ground. to the sky. I've noticed a theme of most of mine is transportation, and I don't know why that is. I think because the classic attractions of,
Now I
back
want
in the
that
day.
song in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're transportation related. So, number 3, the Skyway, and particularly the Skyway buckets, the original. I want to give a plug too for the Photonix podcast that you, Mr. Daps and Clocky, do every so often. I get so inspired by looking at those photos because you see things again from a different perspective that we don't get to today. And a lot of my very favorite photos pulled from that have been from that aerial perspective, whether it's looking towards the monorail or pardon not. Yeah, the monorail. I meant to say the Matterhorn though. Looking
Oh,
at the
that
Matterhorn,
too. Yeah.
seeing it from that higher perspective, looking down at Fantasyland, or all the things that you could see from that perspective. I just think it'd be so cool to fly over top the castle, not directly, of course, but where you could see it, fly through the Matterhorn, see that color, the motion going on beneath you, and then vice versa to look up and see that going by. I think, that it ended up being such a successful attraction that although it didn't last in Disneyland, it did go to other places. It went to Magic Kingdom. It went to Tokyo Disneyland. We don't see it there today, but still, it was something that made people think outside the box. It is something that most people could do. And so for me, I just regret that I never got to ride the Sky.
That was one of my favorites as a kid. And I would love to have experienced it in Florida, which I never did experience it over there, or Tokyo for that matter. But no, that was such a, I think the thing it does so well or did so well is it gave you a lay of the land of where everything is. It's kind of like the train. The train does it in a different way
Yeah.
too, but it gives you that big picture of like, oh, this is where you could go. This is what's happening over there. And this this character is walking by underneath, whatever. No, I totally, I love that one. Like that was such a fun away. Like you really were taken, like you're taken above and out of the park. It was like you're flying over this magic, whatever. And yeah, that was a definite favorite for when I was a kid. I can remember going on it with my grandfather. Mikey, what did you think of did you ever get to do Skyway in Florida or Disneyland? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I've definitely gotten to experience that. Of course, those were in the my early years, but yes, I do have some memories of doing that and going from Tomorrowland to Fantasyland and vice versa. Yeah, I can still picture exactly where everything was. I can point out like this building right here. This was built up, and this had this here, and there was a little chateau right there, right where the restrooms were between uh, Small World and Haunted Mansion. Now it's
Yeah.
restrooms.
I mean, yeah.
So yeah.
Isn't
So,
it funny
but
how that works out?
yeah, exactly. Get that attraction out of there. We're going to build restrooms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Great.
but yeah, I do have a memory of doing that. It was fun. It was a great way to get around the park at a leisurely pace instead of having
And
to.
the breeze,
Oh
Mm.
yes,
Okay. On a summer day.
that would have been nice on a hot day. Absolutely.
especially in
So
Florida.
yeah,
Wow.
So
absolutely.
I was able to look up a little bit of research about some of these things. There's an estimate that in about the 40 years that it existed at Disneyland, about 150 million people got to
Wow.
experience the Skyway. And I just think, what today has numbers like that? I'm sure we have something, but it had that big of a presence in a lot of people's park experience. And
And then
so,
you wonder how long it would take the Skyliner in
right?
Walt Disney World to get up to that number because it can carry more people. It's got more stations. Like that would be an interesting thing to see. Like,
Mhm.
what is that time where the two
Yep.
numbers,
How
like
long
of
did it take
time
you?
and people cross?
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah. All right, Mikey, what do you got?
All right. So the next one on my list is a early Tomorrowland attraction, Adventures Through Inner Space.
Fun.
Yeah,
Excellent choice.
yeah. again, having I've seen pictures. I've never seen like a full on like video of it. I don't know if that exists or not, in what capacity, but I've heard the on ride audio. I've seen pictures of the queue. But from what I've gathered from it, it was one of those attractions that was really effectively far beyond its time. And the idea of it was just crazy, like shrinking you down, and just it keeps going smaller and smaller. And I'm sure that some of the effects at the time were just mind blowing.
Yeah.
And to see some of that early Disney stuff is always been fascinating to me. To see how they would have pulled it off and just blown the minds of people just going through that, and just being like, wow, are we really being shrunk? That kind of stuff. And so it's like, that one has always been intriguing to me, how that worked out, and the idea of it, and exploring the unknown spaces of, just the atoms and all the, who knows how infinite that can go. But
Right.
yeah, that's always just been intriguing to me scientifically, and it's just something I would have loved to see.
And
You know what I
it
think?
fits really well with Tomorrowland, like the theme of Tomorrowland too, because it
Yeah.
does that future thinking. What were you going to say, Angela?
Yeah, sorry. You know what I think Disney has done really well and continues to do with the modern successor like Epcot is edutainment, to make expand your mind with thinking, wow, this is so cool, but also teaching you things, teaching how atoms work and what is at
Yeah.
each successive level of shrinking. Would you be able to do that? What would you actually see? I think they are so brilliant with bringing imagination, but also in a smart way. That's not, just smoke and mirrors. It is smoke and mirrors, but it's teaching you
Sure.
something too. I think that's amazing. And by the way, Mikey, there are on-ride videos. They're from the old, what is
Okay.
it, Super 8 or, the old style video cameras, but I have seen a few little clips and they are so great. I think it's worth checking
I'll
out.
have to dig through and
We all
find
have
something of
homework
that, because
now.
Mhm.
yep.
It's like, I don't think I've watched those. I've watched clips, but I don't know if I've watched a full ride through of those, but I definitely want to now. Hopefully Mouse Steps have them. That's like my go-to old retro stuff, because I'm like,
Yeah.
Absolutely,
let's
yes.
see if Jeff and Denise have something over there.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's my turn again. I'm trying to decide which order I want to go with this. I'm going to go. We're kind of on a movement theme, I feel like now. So I'm going to go for my next one back to Epcot, big surprise. And I'm going to choose the world of motion. There is
Yes.
something, this fits with our theme. We didn't even plan this. But once again, right from what Angela said at the very beginning of the optimism and the inspiration, imagination, all of that stuff, this attraction captures the possibilities of what motion could lead to in the future. And it's kind of, it's Spaceship Earth for cars, but
Pretty much.
but that's okay. Like, it's kind of funny how many of those attractions at the time is just like the history of what is and what could be, and from this perspective or whatever. But I think, I don't know, I just love the vibe of it, the nostalgia. I like the current version. I feel like is the closest to that original. Like, it kind of gives you that sense of what if and what could be. And hat tip for them for doing that one, because it really is a blast. And then the music, like all of it is just I feel like you were just happy by the time you got off of it. And I go back to Disneyland Handcrafted, and hearing them talk about, really the goal was you were happier and better because you went to Disneyland. And I think sometimes that gets overcomplicated of oh, I have to be completely blown away, or oh, I have to have this level of magic happening, or this many attractions. And it really should be like, oh, did you smile? Like, it's something that's simple. Like, it's a source of joy and inspiration. It's not supposed to be a source of check marks and lightning lanes, like, I don't know. But I think World of Motion is one of those things where it just is like, makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great marker. That's, if it, like you said, if nothing else happens, did I come away from this feeling uplifted?
Mhm.
And I think that's what Disney does so well. They're, not to say anything about other theme parks, but Disney does it the best, in my experience.
Did you ever get to experience it, Mikey?
Yeah, I think that's the one I probably experienced the least. I don't have many memories of that ride, but um, I have experienced it in my youth. Um, but I don't think I think that's probably the one that I did the least. Um,
And I can see
uh,
why they updated it because I think that's exactly why.
yeah.
um, and it's fairly like it's an exciting ride now, but it's not. I think like middle schoolers or young or like late elementary could probably handle it. I don't remember there's a height limit for it, right? Um,
There is. I'm not sure exactly what it was off the
all I
top
know
of
is
my
there's
head.
seatbelt, but I feel like it feels Angela's looking it up, I think. As like, but I do feel like it's one of those ones that like who hasn't I mean, maybe not as much as when we were kids, but like that little race moment where you're in the car with your dad and he's like,
Mhm.
"No, nobody's around," like
Yep.
and I feel like there
Yep.
is that kind of family connection with the current version that continues on from the original, and I think it would have been a lot of fun. I don't know that I would have kept it to be honest, but it's one I would have loved to experience. All right, Angela, you're up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to shift back to Tomorrowland and back to the opening day of
Mm,
Disneyland in the 50s.
I think I know where you're going.
You do, huh? Well, let's see.
Let's see.
It is the Tomorrowland boats slash the Phantom boats.
I had a feeling we had a discussion about this on
Yeah.
Photo Next, if I recall.
Yeah. No, you did. And so that kind of inspired me to remember it too. There was also something that happened on a day recently that involved the Tomorrowland boats. I think it was, yeah, actually their opening day. It was, um,
Yeah, that's true.
or their closing day. I apologize, because they only lasted about 9 months, all said. Yeah. So I picked this even though it didn't last very long, even though, let's be honest, there were some issues with its operation. If you're not familiar, so yes, this is an opening day attraction. It was on the Tomorrowland Lagoon. It's called something of that nature. And at least at first, guests would drive these little boats themselves. There were no tracks. These were gas-powered boats in
Nothing
this
could go
little
wrong.
lagoon, and they're just free. You just get set free to go as you please. And, you can imagine that doesn't always end well if you're not the most skilled handling a craft like that.
Or
Maybe
if
not
you're
the best.
Nope.
nefarious. Yeah.
They were
Yep.
also notorious for overheating. And so you can just picture a lovely date cruise going around, and all of a sudden, oh boy, we're stuck. Now what?
Uh-huh.
So there is an element of, I don't know, if, as the Germans say, Schadenfreude, about watching which boats
Yeah.
don't make it and who gets stuck. Some of those difficulties, finding the fun in them. But I think it would be so interesting to pilot a boat yourself with no track
At
uh,
Disneyland.
at Disneyland. And then
Yeah.
the Phantom boats, of course, the design of those is just so iconic. If you've never seen that, it's worth looking up, with the big
It
fiberglass
looks like
fin.
something from a movie.
It
Like,
does. James
yeah.
Bond, maybe, something just so fantastical. And so it didn't last very long. It had a retheme after just a single month, I believe. Uh, they said, whoop, this is not working. But for the time that it existed, I'm going to find the fun in it. I think that's a really neat idea, at least, even if it didn't play out.
I think
And
it'd been
well, of course,
hilarious. Yeah,
I should add, right? Hilarious. I should add too, the thing people know better is the motorboat cruise. That
yeah.
was the successor, and that's the thing that did work. You weren't actually piloting at that point. And that
What?
lasted through the 90s as a great success. But I would have loved to see the original.
Yeah, I agree. I when you were talking, I was thinking about years ago. There was a night we were at the old Earl of Sandwich because you have to delineate these at Disneyland, and I remember watching the ice skaters because they'd put up an ice skating rink, and not everybody in Southern California has gone ice skating before, and it was very amusing to watch, and all of those fun things as we were going around the downtown Disney, I guess. Like we're just sitting there watching people, have a blast. No, that's a great one. That'd be fun. And what was the train that used to be over there too?
We'll get to it.
Oh, okay, then never mind. I'll be quiet. Did you know about this attraction, Mikey?
uh, I've probably seen like little clips or something of it in passing, but I was not really very familiar with that. No,
There
not
are
at all.
very few. Like it's kind of one of those things that there's a few references here and there, but it's not as much as other things in Disneyland's history. I feel well, it's only 9 months, so what do you expect? All right, Mikey, what's next on your list?
So the next couple on my list are more show related.
Okay.
So I'm kind of changing the flavor, the flow here. But the next one on my list is America Sings.
Well, that's a
Nice.
classic. Yes.
Nice.
Well, and with the 250th of the United States coming up, that is a fitting one. I
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, there you
Appropriate.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it was a very interesting replacement for the Carousel of Progress, using the same kind of ride system, going around, and of course, I'm a sucker for a musical thing too. So, um, just the whole idea of it is going through, kind of in a way, kind of keeping it, making it almost in a way a spiritual successor to Carousel of Progress, but the history of music. Now, I don't know if that would have been a good Tomorrowland attraction.
Fair.
Maybe, something more, Frontierland or something like that. But, you know, we could say, but yeah, I love listening to the soundtrack of it. I've listened to it many times. Uh, it's on my Extinct Attractions playlist.
That's a good idea.
But
I love that.
yeah,
That is a good
I do.
idea.
I have a whole playlist of Extinct Attractions that I just, if I'm
Nice.
feeling nostalgic, I'll just pop that on and listen to that.
Love that.
And that's one of them on my list. And so, um, yeah, and I've seen the whole video of it online, things like that. So I've seen it, but I've not really got to be like see it in person, really experience it.
Well, and the
Um,
videos are so old. Like, there's not like a
yeah,
really. I was looking for one a week or so ago, and I was like, there's not one that's like super upscaled, I guess, yet. Like, I hope somebody does that at some point.
right. And from my understanding, I don't know how correct I am, but from what I understand, is they use some of the um, animatronics from that in Splash Mountain.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yep.
that's interesting. That they
Star
didn't
Trek.
quite, yeah, and
Yeah.
Star Tours, yes.
Which I feel
Um,
like if you watch like, the way to do this is you watch America Sings, and
mhm,
then you go to watch a video of Splash Mountain at Disneyland, and then you
mhm,
watch a full ride through walk through of the queue of Star Tours, and
yeah,
you can pick out. It is
Yeah,
very
they're
like
mhm,
it is very apparent. It's like, oh yeah, you didn't work very hard on that. Like, this was a very
right,
natural progression of how to use these figures.
Can we
absolutely,
say, can we also just, now what we're on the tangent, point out the creativity of taking a goose, descanning it, if you will, and that all of a sudden becomes a robot. That's so
yeah,
genius and so out of the box. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
absolutely,
And it's honestly, it's one of the ones I'd love to see them do with the BDX droids. Like, wouldn't it be amazing to see one of the Star Tours droids walking around? Because I feel like they're close to that level of being able to pull that off. But
I think so
who
too.
mhm.
knows? Yeah. Did you have anything to add to that, Angela or Mikey?
No,
I would love to see it
that's all
too. Yeah.
really. Yeah.
I do think it's one of the most iconic extinct soundtracks for an attraction. Like that one, when I think
Mhm,
of old ones that when I was a kid was still on records or CDs, like that was one of the ones I feel like was on a lot of things. So that's a lot of fun.
mhm.
All right, I'm gonna go to. I don't have a great connection to what you guys just did this time, so I'm just gonna pick one. My next one is Cranium Command.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
one that I so this is one that I would love to have experienced at least once. I don't know that I would go back and rewatch it over and over and over again, but fantastic cast. It's a clever idea. Like the premise of it's cute. Buzzy's iconic and legendary, and there's all the stuff around him afterwards. But
Right.
I do. I watched it recently, and it was one of those things where I was like, "Huh, this is definitely something you could do today with today's technology, and it would
Yeah.
probably blow minds because you could take it like it's a little Star Tours, it's a little bit Rise of the Resistance, it's a little like there's so many different tricks that they could use, and kind of you can see that were used later from this that really it's a fun it's edutainment again, but like it's a fun approach to it. It's interesting to see the animation choices they made for it, and
Hmm.
um it's fun, it's cute.
Man, you've given me, both of you, so many ideas of things to go and watch. I have this whole list now of things I want to find on
Yeah.
YouTube. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's kind of where this came from. Is in my downtime, often late at evening, I will throw on old attractions in the parks of like, oh, I wish I'd experienced, like it's just kind of a fun, weird thing to go down that rabbit trail. And usually they lead to more, but
Of course,
all
as
good.
any good
Yeah.
trail does. Yes.
There we go. All right, Angela, what do you got?
All right,
Last one, right? Is this our last round?
this is our last round. I'm going to
Wow.
close it out. Still in Tomorrowland with, you guessed it, the Viewliner.
Good thing I didn't actually say it.
Thank you. Yes. No, that worked out. I guess it had like attractions nowadays have the name colon the subtitle. Subtitle of the Viewliner was The Train of Tomorrow. So bringing it full circle, thinking about what might be down the road. So as I think everybody here, as a fan of trains, just in general, I have always been a little bit mesmerized by the Viewliner. So again, something that didn't last very long. Again, only 9 months, not the same 9 months as those boats, but this was a little bit later in 57. It opened in June, closed the next September. So didn't make it forever, but this Viewliner train was so interesting in its design, in what it stood for, and the new things that it was designed to do that we didn't see before. In a lot of ways, it became the precursor to the monorail. But it also has this look and this spirit of the golden age of travel. Um, I think just looking at pictures, it makes me dream a little bit of what it might
Mhm.
have been like to travel in some of those bygone eras when train travel was the way that you got around. So anyway, it's some interesting facts I thought about it. It had kind of a tagline as the fastest miniature train in the world. And, believe it or not, it was actually quite fast. It could reach 60 miles an hour. It did not in operation,
Yeah, I
but it
was gonna say, I'm sure
could.
they didn't have space for that.
They did not, because it was powered by an Oldsmobile Rocket V8 engine. Imagine this train with some
Okay.
serious power. I love the fact that it had two different themes. There was a whole line of cars named after the planets, fitting with Tomorrowland. So Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, and Mars, Saturn. Fantasyland had Pinocchio and Cinderella, Bambi, Alice, and Tinkerbell. I can just imagine being a kid back then and thinking, I get to ride on
Mhm.
Tinkerbell. This is so
Right?
fun. And so you look back at some of those old pictures, again, is one of those things. I just feel like if you got to do this in just those few months that it existed, what a lottery you won. How
Mhm.
amazing that you were there, just the right place in the right time to
Mhm.
experience something that we will only have pictures of. That's my sentiment for a lot of these things,
I
but
feel like that
especially,
needs to be a Photonix episode.
oh, I agree. I would love to listen to that.
Yeah.
But of course, we got new things afterwards. We got the Matterhorn and the submarine
Yeah.
voyage and the monorail itself. So not to say that the things that replaced it weren't amazing, but just to go back and see, wow, this is such a neat thing that they spent a lot of money on.
Mhm.
In today's money, it probably would have been, about $2.5 million that they spent for this to not last very long.
Wow.
And it's, and other research I was doing was about um, some of the financing that the Disney company got in its early years, and thinking Walt was a dreamer, and he was
Mhm.
able to convince people to spend kind of a lot of money on some risky things, and not all of them lasted forever, but that spirit that it created was more than the sum of its parts. You know, it inspired so many people, and you know that's why we still have all of these parks and it growing more and more today.
Totally agree. And I love too that, you know, we've both been to, what is it, the Oregon Zoo,
Hmm.
and they
Yes.
have a train that's very much like
Sure.
that. And I remember going on that as a kid and then seeing that there was once one that looked very similar at Disneyland, and I was like, "Wait, that's even better." You know, like that would have been super cool. Did you have any thoughts on this one, Mikey, or would you like to continue on?
Um, I have no knowledge or experience with that
You should
attraction,
look it
so
up. It's pretty cool.
yeah, I'll look it up. But yeah, I have nothing to add to it. So
All right. Well,
it
then
definitely sounds interesting.
what's your grand
Uh,
finale?
yeah, so my grand finale is what I consider to be the thing that inspired Philhar Magic, which is Mickey Mouse Review.
That was on my
Uh,
honorable mentions.
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
um, that closed just before my time, unfortunately.
You
Um,
didn't go to Tokyo to
no,
see it?
you know, no, I haven't. um, someday I might go to Tokyo, but even that's gone there from there
It's,
too.
yeah, I
So
was gonna say it's gone there
yeah,
now too. So
I missed my shot on that. Um, but yeah, it's again another quirky animatronic show, musical show. And like I said, I love the quirky stuff. I love the
Mhm,
unusual stuff.
mhm.
That's the most
It's just
memorable.
yeah, absolutely. And I actually did just watch a video of it recently in preparation for this, doing my homework, and like, yeah, I would have loved this. This would have been one of my just
Mhm.
casual Disney day, walk in, see it, and
Mhm.
Well,
go
yeah,
home. You know, it's one of
yeah.
those
Why
things. You
not?
know,
Yeah.
and so yeah, and that kind of rings true to how I see Philharmagic nowadays. It's like it's one of those things it's one of those things I have to do while I'm there. It's like non-negotiable. Like
Hmm.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna see it.
And
Um,
it's so good over there.
oh yeah, and again, it also again comes down to another thing of reused animatronics where they have Donald, Jose, and Panchito in
Mhm.
um, the Grand Fiesta Tour and Epcot. Those are the original attraction uh, animatronics from that show. So you know they're
After a bit
still
of a trip.
yeah they've been around the world.
Exactly.
But
Literally.
yeah, yeah. So there's still some element of it still in the park somewhere
I love
in
that
that same
choice.
auditorium and elsewhere around the parks.
I love that choice. And it gets me wondering, like, imagine if they were to do that today with today's audio animatronics. Like the
Yeah,
possibilities. Like Mickey's PhilharMagic's awesome, but imagine if instead you had kind of a hybrid of the two or something. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, like that sounds like a blast to me.
I hope
Uh,
Josh tomorrow's listening to hear these great
right?
ideas because
Yeah, they're all free. Um, did you ever see this show online or anything, Angela?
no, but again, I now have an excellent
Added
playlist.
it to the list. Great.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, maybe I'll have one that you have seen online. I don't know if you would have seen it in person or not, but no surprise, my last one is also from Epcot. And that is, I feel like Mikey's going to guess this, but it is Horizons.
Yep, saw that
That
coming.
is that is number one on my list. If there was one attraction I could go back and experience from all time, like that would be the one. And
Mhm.
I love everything about it. The music, the message, the building was epic. Like the whole thing
Yeah,
just really was about, you know, New Horizons. Like it was fantastic. Embodied everything it said it was going to be. And I listen to the soundtrack all the time. And I feel like every couple months I go back and rewatch the movie, you know, like one of the movies. And I just think there was something so special about that. And it, with Journey into Imagination and Spaceship Earth and World of Motion, like all of these older um, attractions at Epcot really did embody, yes, edutainment, but the inspiration and the imagination of what could be. And I love that. And I think they tried that with Mission Space. I just don't like, the thing in my face on their, like, it's just not a ride for me. And it's not comfortable. And I think this is a case too, where you could have gone in, you could have sat down, enjoyed with your family, and gotten out of the heat. Like, there's something to be said for longer attractions at Epcot just because of the Florida sun.
Yes.
But like this, I don't know. I could do I think a whole episode on Journey to Imagination, on Horizons, just because I think, and the great, it's all great.
I feel like you should.
Yeah.
Maybe we will. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll dig into it at some point.
Very cool. Can I say a couple honorable mentions? I don't know
Please
if you guys
do.
have
Throw
them
any
too.
honorable mentions out.
Sure. So I came into this thinking more about like the ride aspect. What rides would I want to experience? But I have a couple that are not rides, but I think are still attractions. And since you've gone into some shows and things too, I think it counts.
Shows count.
One of mine, this is not a show, is the Chicken of the Sea pirate ship and the Skull Rock area when that came to be. I just can't imagine being a kid in the 50s when Peter Pan first came out, to be able to walk up to Captain Hook's pirate ship and be able to play in it and have some great lunch.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I think back to when the 70th celebration started at Disneyland, and they had a tuna salad sandwich over at Red Rose Tavern that I ordered, and was just thinking, wow, what would it have been like just over there? If only. And, again, going back to PhotoNix, a lot of the great photos I've loved are of that area of the ship. And it's just too bad that it couldn't have been saved. Mm-hmm. My second one is a show, and that is the original Golden Horseshoe Review. The opening day version, with the iconic characters with Wally Boag and Betty Taylor, and the one that went on for 30 plus years, thousands of performances, Walt Disney's favorite, as they say. I would have loved to see that. I think entertainment is also another thing that sets Disney apart, that it's not just about the rides, it's about seeing something interesting and moving and in some ways profound when you go and see live entertainment.
You can't see anywhere else. Yeah.
Right. I would have loved those.
Nice. Did you have any honorable mentions, Mikey?
I don't actually. I kind of stuck with the 5 themes.
That is fine.
But
I had Mickey Mouse
so many.
Review, which you already hit, but I also had the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in Florida.
Yeah. Yes.
That would have been pretty cool as well. But I think we have reached our allotted amount of time for people to watch/listen. So thank you both for being on today. It was a lot of fun. We'll have to do this again sometime. And if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know in the comments or on social media. We'd love to connect with you, or head on over to Daps HQ. We'll connect with you there, or Facebook, or anywhere else you want. It's all good. But take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, we'd love your ratings, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show. But that is all we've got for you this time around. So make it a great week, everybody. Keep kind, and we'll see you in the parks.